I thought I would start with my prop here. So when I went away to college, my parents moved to Orange County on the edge of a bunch of strawberry fields. So those are all gone now. So when I come out here and I see the fields, it's a reminder of part of what we're trying to do at the Strategic Growth Council, at the Office of Planning and Research, at the Governor's Office, to help see how we can preserve not just open space but agricultural lands. And that, for me and for a lot of what Governor Brown is interested in, is also about our massive challenge around climate change. So if we build development here, the estimate, at least in Yolo County, it may be a little different here, but in Yolo County, where there's been a pretty in-depth study, you'll have 70 times the greenhouse gas emissions because of the development and everything that goes with it as you do from agricultural production. So there are some very substantial consequences beyond all the things that you've talked about in terms of preserving agriculture for the sake of agriculture and for open space and for habitat and for flood control and all the things that I'm sure you've been talking about today. But we have Hurricane Harvey. You saw what that's about. That is a look into the future because it's exactly what's predicted by climate change, that you have hurricanes that have more water and have more energy because of warmer water. And so, and meanwhile, we're having in California by far the hottest summer ever. And I'm sure we all can understand what that means, but that's, we're looking into the future. So I really want to congratulate the county and the city and everybody who's been involved in the effort around looking at the Coyote Valley. It's part of something called an RCIS, which I can never remember what that stands for. When it first started in legislation, it was RCA, which is a Regional Conservation Assessment. They changed it for whatever reason, but at any rate, what folks have done, and it's the very first one done in the state of California that's submitted now to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, is to look at the values represented by this area for species, for greenhouse gas emissions, for corridors, for preserving agriculture, all of those things. And it's really a model for the rest of the state. It doesn't mean there can never be development here. It doesn't mean that this is, because it's been studied, it's set aside and there'll never be anything out here other than what's here now. But it's an effort to understand what the values of this area are and how to best manage them. And it has lots of implications for the city of San Jose, not just for Coyote Valley, because the city gets services from this area as well. And remember, when you develop areas, you also need to, under our environmental rules, you need to mitigate the impacts of some of that development. So this may be, and probably is, an area that can mitigate for development in other places where it may make more sense to develop, and then you can preserve some of the values of this area as you go. And so that kind of feeds into the overall idea that we have. We have to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, 12 years from now, by 40%. That is an extraordinary set of challenges for everybody in the state. Just think about in your own life how you reduce emissions from your own efforts by 40%. I'm thinking about this, and then think about it on a statewide scale in 12 years. It's going to be pretty dramatic. And one thing that we've learned right now, California, surprisingly, our agricultural lands, our open space, forest lands, what we sometimes call working and natural lands. Altogether, they're actually a source of emissions, of greenhouse gas emissions in the state of California. A lot of that is because of forest fires. Some of it is because some of the agricultural practices can be changed over time to become sinks where soil and plants really take up more greenhouse gases than they emit. But in order to get there, we have to preserve some of that land and not develop it, and then change our tactics and our techniques. And so the first part of that is to really understand the values of these areas, and the work that's been done here, I think, is a really important step to getting there. So it's a pleasure to be out here. It's amazing to see all you folks, and I'm very happy to have the chance to come down and share a little bit of this time. Thank you very much.